Good day, good day, good day to you all. This is Dr. Matthews-Bey here on the Dr. Matthews-Bey Unfiltered. I come to you this evening at this time of the day, with a saddened heart of some issues that I want to bring about to your comprehension. So before I do that, I must say greetings to you all. Islam to you, my Moorish brothers and sisters. And I hope that your day was quite satisfying and quite well. Once again, this is Dr. Matthews Bay on the Dr. Matthews Bay Unfiltered. It's a name change that I'm working with. So please, please do consider my change in a few things. So there'll be a background change also too. So we're working on that just to bring to you the information as it is credible as it can be. So, and valid, sorry, not only credible, but valid. Okay? Let me give you my 30 seconds before I start this evening show. Hold on. It's supposed to be up. Am I not? So let me get right into it. In the Corporation of Guyana, there's a few things that are not that quite well. And I want to get at it because it's bothering me. The very first one that is bothering me in the Corporation of Guyana, it is that there is this faction of people within the political landscape of the People's National Congress reform overseas based Guyanese who are, excuse me, please, who are attached to the People's National Congress reform. But this is what I want to say. When the People's National Congress reform had their Congress and in the elections of a new leader of the party, there were problems. After the elections, there were more problems. You found that one particular individual didn't want to step down because he thinks he still owns the right to be the opposition leader because his partner, Mr. David Granger, is still the head of the list, and the head of the list by law or by constitution, it's registered in GCOM, and that list could only change. That list could only change in the next upcoming regional general elections after that. Now, here was the problem. This young man is still the head of that list. Mr. David Granger is still the head of that list. And there's some factions of the People's National Congress reform seems to want to hold that as a catalyst against Mr. Aubrey Norton. Because at any one time he can wake up and change his mind to indicate to the Ghana Elections Commission, well, here, look, I want another person to become leader of the party. But the thing is that there's a growing concern that everybody is trying to look at. And I want to get down to the bottom of it. You see, Mr. Norton may not be the kind of person that everybody wants, especially those who finances the People's National Congress reform. The financiers, the ones who donate largely to the party. So they're starving him of their finances to move the party forward in the next generation. If you get where I'm coming from, to those who are listening. And those financiers are now sprouting their heads and they're hanging their dirty linen outside on the lamppost for everybody to see. It's a dangerous game. I don't like politics. I'll be honest with you. But I figure out that in order for me to speak to the people and to represent the people, I had to now come on board to be a representative of the electorate. And I hold that position dearly, although it's part of the APNU umbrella inside of the People's National Congress. My position as in the local government, trying to run as a council, trying to run as a proportional representation council on the next upcoming local government elections. But how can you run on a slate which under the umbrella of the APNU and have these kinds of actions taking place within the People's National Congress reform? It's pretty bad. It's disgusting, it's unprofessional, and it does not show the right thing. Instead of you running your mouths or hanging your dirty linen out to show your disapproval of Mr. Norton, take that same energy that you have and represent the people in Mocha Arcadia, in which the de facto government took them off their ancestral lands, which is legally theirs. That's the case. Take the same energies that you have and pay 2 or 3 lawyers within the international study pertaining to the Aboriginal people and their rights, and take that case to court in representing the people of Mocha Arcadia. Don't be so destructive. You already got the general secretary who decided to resign. I know you already got the what you call him again, the treasurer who resigned, and they both appears to be that of East Indian origin. It shows a displacement within the party. I mean, I comprehend why. I mean, if you look at the general secretary, she came from the PPP to the AFC and then to the PNC. I don't know where maybe she'd gone back there, but I'm saying to you, everybody has their right to voice their opinion. It's a freedom of speech. Everybody has their right to act. But you, who are one of the financiers of the PNC, because you don't like the man who's running the PNC, and you're afraid that if an election's called that he become president, you don't even want the guy to become president. But you're showing and you're sowing these factions. I mean, that's pretty bad. That is terrible. I mean, come on. We gotta be serious. You want to put out there your distaste about the guy that you call Mr. Norton and you don't like him. What about the people who are suffering on the ground in Makkah? What about them? They need your help because you know why? It is a government who belongs to the it is a dysfunctional party, the People's Progressive Terrorist Party, that's in government, is their regime that is oppressing the people, that seems to want to look to you for help, some sort of response. And this is what you're doing. Tell me, how professional are you? Or do you have a soul? Do you have any remorse? When you go out there and you plant such a seed, you know, there is a normal thing that there is a normal say that my parents of old or the people of old or my elders would normally say: be careful of the seed you sow, for that you shall reap. It's reality. Be careful of the energies you put out there because it is a destructive element. And that destructive element is causing mayhem. It is sowing a different seed. You got to be careful. Seriously, you have to be careful. You cannot keep going down this road. It is dysfunctional, it is terrible, it doesn't show the right thing. And instead, you waste all of that energy in talking about your dislike for Mr. Norton. Give it to the people that's in need right now. Give it to them because you're starving the PNC of financial resources so they can turn around to help the people that's in need. So if you don't want to pass it through the body of the PNC or the APNU, give it to the people indirect. That's in direct need. Give it to them. Come on the grounds. Don't send your mouth over social media. You come on the grounds. You talking about no confident vote. I mean, are you serious? You got you got a de facto regime parading around the place as an illegal, unelected, never duly elected government. Call for no confident vote against them. I figure out it's the best thing to do. But you can call for no confident vote against them. That's the better option. Don't waste your time. You're wasting people's time. You know how many things I wanted to say today. You know how many things that is boiling over just for me to say it, but a lot of people knows the truth why you're operating like this, why everybody's operating like this. A lot of people knows the truth. Can you remember when the APNU AFC government was in power? It was Mr. Jack Day who talked about the $15 million that Mr. Raphael Trotman gained, and he wanted to know what happened about it. Can you remember that incident? But he spoke half and left half. He didn't speak the right things because he himself also got money too, you know. Yes. It is what you call a bonus package ExxonMobil was giving out every 2 years. One person get 20, one person get 15, and the next person get 10. Y'all do the maths. Here, let me tell y'all something. Stop derailing people. Stop it. It's not healthy. It's not good. If you collect your little money, stay in your corner because a lot of people know what's going on. Stop it. Don't vex if the man see you want nothing. The man see you want nothing, he want nothing, and the talkie story playing. The man said there's a lot of people who's collect an envelope with a check when the month come. He's seeing that up under. You can't vex with the man. If he ain't collecting no envelope with no check, the man wants to stay in his corner and govern as a leader. Allow him to. Give him the chance to. Because the regime that you got now in power is worse than what you're claiming about him. You want a no confident vote against him. Talk about a no confident vote against a fraud, Ali and Barjack Dio. Talk about that no confident vote against the two of them. Spend your resources behind such a no confident vote than spending your resources and your energies to try to run a man out when he's trying to represent his people without your help because you're starving him of the resources. And that is pretty much bad. That is worse than anybody can ever think of. Now let's go to the people in Moco Arcadia. Now, there is a serious problem with certain things, and you need to comprehend these problems. Before 1966, it was British Guiana. Before British Guiana, it was the Aboriginal indigenous people, living souls. They were there in the inception. And when I mean Aboriginal indigenous people, I mean persons like me, loudly heavy melanated people. They were called Arawaks. They were called Moabites. They were called Bantus. It depends on whichever part of the region of the Americas you are. These people lived on this land long before any other ethnic group came here. Everybody else has a date of entry. The Amerindians have a date of entry. They came across the Bering Straits. The East Indians has a date of entry. They came here as indentured laborers in 1845, the first ship. The Chinese, the Portuguese, everybody came here and settled on this land that you call the Americas. In 1777 and 1778, a draft was drafted you call the Treaty of Peace and Friendship and was signed in the state of Morocco, which is the Americas. And it was signed with a comprehension of giving back to the Aboriginal people royalties when you would have invested, because that treaty was signed as what you call to create a commerce, a corporate commerce, which you call countries. When the law was passed in the United Nations, when the treaty was approved in the United Nations Act, which is Article 1514 of the decolonization of all colonies. That means everybody was to gain their independence. British Guiana handed over independence to Guyana. And in the handing over of independence to Guyana, there was two laws within the Constitution pertaining to land. The very first one is what you call Crown lands. And Crown lands was controlled by what you call a Commissioner of Lands and Survey. That commissioner would have sat and spoken to persons who would have purchased lands, like for instance, Victoria, Pleasance, Buxton, Golden Grove, They got, as a matter of fact, they got over 200 purchased plantations in the corporation. Sorry, 200 purchased plantations on the Americas that the Corporation of Guyana sits on. Now, in that constitution, it says the government of that day does not own these lands. These lands would have been regularized through lands and surveys to the government. That is why when the Ministry of Housing gives you a certificate, it is what you call a transport, because you don't own it. You cannot own it. Now, in these villages that you call that are independent of the government and of lands and survey, created what you call a village chair or a village committee, which you have a chairman sits on it, or a village council that where you have a chairman sits on that council. And that council helps to regularize the lands in the village, because what happened, according to it, it is persons who would have been passed down via ancestors occupy these offices. These offices became politicized. And as it become politicized, you find some of these chairmen willingly hand over the regularized property that is owned by the village council, because remember, it is ancestral land, willingly hand it over to either Ministry of Housing or the government of Guyana. That's what's happening. And because you do not know your rights as a people, the government now comes in, swoops down, and take the land away from you. And they do it via one particular reason. They call it abandonment. Now, in the Constitution, it says that the government or the Ministry of Housing can only come in and take land and call it government reserve if you cannot regularize the land. Regularization means if you move away from that land in the position where you abandoned it, it's like automatically handing it over to the management of the government, which they take it via way of abandonment because you abandoned it. And they now have to regularize it. They call it development. And in that process of forcing you off the land, they threaten you with something you call government reserve. You cannot squat on ancestral land. You cannot. It belongs to you. But how does it belong to you? This is where your family history comes in. Now, if your father belongs to an aunt who belongs to an uncle that dates back way before 1700s, you have the lineage comes down. That is where you have rights to the land. You remember the issue with Mr. Lincoln Lewis in Berbice? When he went to claim his ancestral land, he had the documentation showing that he reserved the right to the land because he is a lineage to the land by his ancestors. He has rights. Because we cannot do such a thing, or we don't have the ability to trace back our history, the government says now you abandoned your land. Now, the only person who can save you is the village council. But on the village council, there are councillors who work politically to take away this right from you. Like the guy from the Seventh-day Adventist Church in Mocha, Arcadia. Oh, yes. The pastor that sits on the council And you know why he didn't help you? Because when you can remember the de facto regime came into power, they gave they gave them $150 million grant. I don't know if it's a grant or a giveaway, but this is what the government of Guyana did to make sure that they catch you, the perishers, to silence you. So in case that there's a position like this where the Aboriginal people is being deprived and oppressed, you cannot rise up because remember, you're in the government's pocket. Listen to me, ladies and gentlemen, Guyanese of the Corporation of Guyana, and to my Aboriginal brothers and sisters who are independent like me, who are not Guyanese. If you continue to be ignorant of the fact your rights will be taken from you. Some people say, but it is a political thing. Me never get involved in that. You can imagine a man see me last night and tell me last night and told me that the government 2 months ago gave the people notices. So I listened to you and I said, well, boy, let me ask you a question. Your father gave you a piece of land, and suddenly you know the land is your father because it passed from generation to generation. You got evidence. Suddenly a man turn up and give you 2 months notice to come after that. What are you gonna do? He said, no, that can't happen. I said the people did the same thing. And here was the best part of the laugh. Mr. Ifrod Ali in 2008 went into the same place, sent the Ministry of Housing officials in the same Cane View Mocha to parcel those lands out, to give it out at a later date via way of transport. Now come back, parcel them out. Each land was 173 by 65. It was supposed to be a farming and housing for that purpose. Yes. That's why the guy had the pig farm. First he had the cow, and then he resorted to pigs. Now you destroy the guy's livelihood. You arrest those who refuse to come out of the house. You beat the man till I'm supposed to go and see the man that the police beat so bad that he's bedridden. He got swollen foot. As a matter of fact, certain parts of his body is swollen. They arrested the guy. BT arrest him for staying in his own home whilst the demolition was now being in process. And you're going to tell me, to all God, I must sit down and accept a notice from the Ministry of Housing telling me I must vacate the property because it's government reserve. They're supposed to send me a legal notice defining to me government reserve. It has to be gazetted. It has to be passed. And for it to be gazetted, you got to make sure that the land is not ancestral land, because you can't gazette somebody else's land. You can't just wake up tomorrow morning and take it. Some people say, but what you can do? You can't. I sometimes I hate the part. Some people say, you can't challenge the government, guys, done the government. I beg your pardon. Do you know how they have wars and rumors of wars? It's when one country decides to wake up and invade another country. This how come he's got wars. Because the man who they invaded decided to say, I can't me taking this here and stand up for my rights and I can fight back. So the de facto regime know you're going to fight back because they got the police there for shoot you with tear gas and pellets. So nobody want dead. So they're going to move aside and they're going to allow the de facto regime to come in and take what is rightfully theirs. And they're going to sell the same lands. It's already bought, as a matter of fact. The land is already bought and paid for. And they're going to say, via way of in the official gazette, that that piece of land was abundant. Although it's ancestral land, it was abandoned by the village council. So by law, if there's abundant land and the government see lands to be regularized and nobody has come forward to claim it, that means it's abandonment. So they have the right now to take it and regularize it without your consent. And that's what is going to happen all the time. Every time they have these differences, it will happen. It will put you in positions that you cannot retaliate because you're so afraid. Because you don't have the people to represent you. The people who are going to represent you trying to fight each other down for position and power. Oh Lord. The people who you trying to represent you, trying to get their attention to represent you in such a position. They're trying to fight against another man because the other man say, hey, I ain't able to hang my mouth with the soup dropping. Let's get real. And another thing too, we talk about laws and constitutional effects of laws. Listen to me carefully. People, stop listening to people telling you trash. It makes no sense. A man asks me, how can you have ancestral lands when we were brought here as slaves? Ask yourself the question. If somebody bring you from another land, like how they brought you, they say they brought you from Africa to the Americas, they brought you here as a slave. You ain't know what's going on. You ain't know north, south, east, nor west, but you on this plantation. Would you escape? I don't think so, because you don't know where to go. You don't have a clue where to run and go. So you wouldn't escape. I know I'm correct on that. But if you know your lands, if you know your backyard and somebody comes here to enslave you, eventually you will have rebellions. You call slave rebellions. You know why they used to call them slave rebellions? Because they knew their backyards. They knew where to run and go. They know how to set themselves up to kill the enslavers. They knew all of these things. Ask yourself a question. How can I maroon you on an island you call the Hispaniola? 60 million people on the island of Hispaniola, which is now Haiti and Dominican Republic. I maroon you on that island as slaves. And you know your backyard, good. You know what happened? They had rebellions. The French lost the uprising in what you call Haiti now. So they hate that part of history because the Haitians knew their backyard. The Haitians knew their land. It belongs to them. They know every inch of it. So there's nothing that you can conquer of them when they know it's so good. So did the Jamaicans. That's why they call them the Maroons. I'm saying to you, the trash that these people sit down to tell you now, you have to be very focused. Because everybody came here and meet the Aboriginal people. Everybody. We talk about point of no return. I'm not saying that they didn't have slave trades and all these things. I'm not saying they didn't have these things, but the fact is that how can I enslave you on your own land? It's not unless I bring people who ain't nobody land. Common sense gonna tell you. Now, unless I bring people who knew about the land, like for instance, like when they went to Hindustan, which is now India, to bring indentured laborers to, which is now Guyana, in 1845, they fool the people and tell them they carry them to a different part of India to do some work. Tell them to cross in a lake. and brought them all the way here because they couldn't enslave the Aboriginal people. There were too much rebellions going on. Maybe they could enslave them in North America, but they couldn't enslave them properly in the South American continent. And even in North America, you had rebellions because the indigenous people were also Aboriginals also there. But they were wealthy off, but they're not going to tell you that. The people had their own system, their own economy. And they pitied those who were brought as slaves. That's why you had the North and you had the South. In the North, the blacks were free. They didn't know about slavery. As a matter of fact, slavery wasn't even going on in the North. It was going on in the South. So this is why when the North fought against the South in the Civil War, they freed all the slaves because they said it's brother like themselves. They shouldn't be enslaved. We got to know our story. We have to study a nation that is ignorant of themselves will continue to be ignorant. A nation who depends upon their enslavers to teach them and educate them and to feed them and to give them a religion will always be oppressed. And they will create laws to oppress you some more. Look what's going on. Take a very good look at what's going on. It's hard. It's very, very hard in this particular time to move a man from a position of $100 million investment to a position of less than $20. Look at the difference. 40 piglets, 20 pigs come out from the rubble where I was in Moko Arcade on Saturday. This after the demolition of everything. That's how much. Imagine a pig selling at $200,000 to one. Multiplied it by 20. See how much money you get. $200,000 to one. 5 is $1 million. And I sure the guy gave him next to nothing. Because why? You don't have a pen. You don't have a source of income. You ain't got nothing. It's 2 houses in 1 yard breakdown. Plus the pig pen. That's what exposed everything because they were saying that the people lying, they ain't got cattle, they ain't got this, they ain't got that. For negotiate. Well, here I went the right time. The ancestors took me there the right time. So I was able to see firsthand the amount of livestock the guy had. You had 1/2 cut barrel alone with piglets filled. They can't even move, as I showed you on the live screen. And you had the 20 pigs in the truck, jammed up together. Look at the size. That's cash money. The farm is so loaded that he could afford to support mucker, horse telling, and certain parts of the entire East Bank of Demerara with pork. Because that's how he works. He works with orders. Now you expect him, now you destroy his livelihood. You don't want to give him the kind of money to restart his business somewhere else and the kind of land. So you put him out to bread. Now you want him to come and work for you. You want him to come and be your slave. Those are the people that those who shouting and screaming on the social media against the opposition party supposed to go and help. Because at the end of the day, it's the same people that you ignoring is put you there as politicians, as a party. It's the same people that you depending on to go and vote to put you there, whether you win or win not. It is the same people that you expect to support you to make sure that you become members of parliament. It's a destructive element to sit there, do nothing, say nothing. And when you feel offended by somebody saying something, you get up and you want to tear the person down and forgetting those who are suffering because they have put you in a position that you're feeling happy. You know, you can ask yourself the question, these are the people that voted for these people. Whether you say in the party or whether you're a member of parliament. It is the normal citizens on the ground that belong to the corporation of Ghana who goes to vote for you to make your life comfortable. And then you run around and photo ops in yourself. And then when you get vexed, you sit down and you abuse or you tear down one of the leaders of your own party because you're failing to support them financially because you don't like that leader. And when people like me talk, you hear, oh gosh, I mustn't say that. To me, when I look at people who behave in such a manner, Jack Dion Yal is the same thing. Seriously. Because Ali don't even give a hell waters about the livelihoods of people now who have been affected in the demolition of the houses, much as Jack Dion. Because they didn't even look round the shoulder. Imagine he went in there just to assess the problem. The problem was getting the land so his friends and families can get it. He went in there to assess the problem, went in there and opened his mouth and operate like he preaching. He ain't gone back in there. When he done gone in there now, he come out of there, he sends his goons who's sitting on the village chairman, the village council. Imagine a big pastor. How uncomfortable he must be feeling when the church Sunday gone. I don't even know what he told his parish members. But it's a village that is predominantly Aboriginal. What are we doing? Ask yourself the question, what really are we doing to solve the issue? What are we doing? We doing nothing? We're just running around the place trying to talk about a mouthful of garbage. What are we doing really? You want to talk with Aubrey Norton? Ask yourself this question. Does he has the resources to operate as an opposition leader? No, he doesn't. You know why he doesn't? Because you're not giving him the support. You're starving him of the support, you're starving him of the finances. And because you know he has nowhere to turn, now you're going to rise up and say, I want a no confident vote. I mean, come on, you got to think. Stop behaving like kindergartners. Don't behave like A fraud. A fraud is like a 5-year-old child. That's how he behaves. When you behave like that, you behave like a 4-year-old. I might get offended because Dr. Matthews-Bey spoke. Well, a lot of people know me. I'm pretty much controversial. I'm plain spoken. I don't care who vexes when I talk because I don't mince matters. I don't pretend. That's what y'all gotta stop doing. Stop pretending and start acting. It's a dangerous game you're playing. Think about it. It's not correct. It's not right. think about it. Ask yourself the question. I had a taste of it. I don't know about you. I had a taste of the People's Progressive Terrorist Party. They can't persuade me. They ain't got no amount of money they can persuade me. They can't change my mind about my people that are being affected. I mean, I wish if I could do more to help the situation. Matter of fact, just today alone, gotta go in there to give assistance to the people. Just today alone. And the little that I got to give. So to those who are looking, these people need help. They do. People says 9 families. Here, you should see the living conditions is in dire straits. And the 9 families are those who were independent of the government. That's why they stood up. Because they could afford to stand up. Now the dysfunctional PPP decide to break their homes down and tear down their business, their source of income. Now they want to turn them into criminals. So they must leave their source of income independently to go work for a government which they have never worked for in their life. One man, 30 years. He mining the means that since he was a teenager, he into this farming. 30 years. And what are we doing? That means he born and grow on it. On the same piece of property. 30 years. That's how long they're living there, you know. That's how long they're living there. Even if so be the case, they haven't even broken one law because the Constitution talks about prescriptive rights. That means if you're living on that piece of land for more than 5 years, you have prescriptive rights. You have evidence. That's why I'm saying the government takes it by abandonment. They force you off of it so you can't claim prescriptive rights, and that's their evidence. They say you abandoned the land. And they ain't got no way for put you. No, me got time with them. It's a bunch of black people. This is the first thing that's come out of the mouth. Oh, yeah, man, a bunch of black people, we ain't got time with them. They don't vote for me. So they can't get nothing. They never asked you for a thing. They were independent before you even came into the situation. Before you even came into the play. They were independent. So they don't have to ask you for nothing. My brothers and sisters of the political party of APNU, AFC, and that belongs to the PNC, I'm saying to you this now. Don't sit down in your homes behind a camera and post. Come out and go on the grounds. I must commend MP Bess. I must commend her. I think her name is Nina Bess. I must very much commend her for the hard work that I saw her doing on the grounds when I was there. I mean, there were other politicians who were there that I saw. But I must commend MP Bess because you know why? She lives in Mocha. She fights for the rights of the people. But they need assistance. They need legal assistance. They need physical assistance, means clothes and food, clothing and food. And they also need finances for the children to go to school because they have demolished the place of business that brings the income so they can feed their children and send them to school. They need those assistance. They need it because it's every day they gotta fight now to eat. Because they ain't got no way for go. Can you imagine these people living under somebody bottom house right now? And they've got a pool to cook for them every single day. Pool their resources or whosoever's giving. That's the position that they're in. That's in the dire straits that they're in. They got to pool their resources or whosoever give them so they can get to eat. You got two mothers. Both of them got two children. There's the youngest, which is four children. They got two at 2 years and they got two at 6 years. Oh my gosh. You got to see the conditions that these people are living in right now. They got to take turn to sleep. You think it easy? I don't know why the pastor of the 7 Days Adventist Church don't go and give ear to the need. In Mocha. Sometimes I just try to be a little professional sometimes, but I can't help it. I can't just sit down and watch my people, my Aboriginal people. I don't say black, I don't say Negro, I don't say colored because we are Aboriginal. All these other names are systematic control. It's class. Black is a class. Negro is a class. Color is a class. It was created by the system, so I don't use those words. I'm much more or less edified than yesterday. I've evolved to a position where I know the truth. So on my show, I teach the truth and I tell the truth. My number remains the same, 611-6575, 592-611-6575. For those who want to assist in the situation, you can call me. We have a large contingent of organization that is joined together. Dr. Matthews-Bey show, Ghana Day Foundation, Ghana American Diaspora. There are 2 or 3 other more groups that we have joined together. So we as a matter of fact, we are heading into Mocha to distribute some more stuff. But then at the end of the day, we are limited. Like, I'm going to show you a simple example. Yesterday, we went to Monishwar's down in town to buy bleach, soap powder, toilet paper. Yes, bleach, soap powder, toilet paper. We went to Monishwar's Wharf to buy that. There's a section in Monishwar's opposite faculties that sells these hardware appliances and confectionaries and all these things. We approached the proprietor of the building, of the business. At least I approached him. I talked to him about the conditions and the situations. That is why we're buying it, and we asked him if he's willing to assist in the situation. You want to know what he gave? 2 gallons of bleach. I had to laugh. But you know what? I was grateful and thankful. Yes, 2 gallons of bleach. I still laughed, but I was grateful and thankful because it's going to assist after we bought a case of bleach. We bought bleach, soap powder, the big packs of everything, and toilet paper by case. And we got 2 gallons of bleach as a donation. I want to say to you, instead of we waste time bashing each other, let us find the time to represent each other. Let us find the time to stand up and support each other. Support the Gavin Matthews show. Support the progress that I'm doing for the betterment of my people. I will always refuse the PPP's money. I will never accept it. But you need to support the cause. It is your people who is now suffering. I'm already a political prisoner. There's much things I can do and I cannot do because I don't have the kind of resources. But I still try at the end of the day. I know we all have needs. But when the family is united, they become unstoppable. When the family is divided, then we become oppressed. And we will always become an oppressed people because we're divided among ourselves. Let us stop this. I am Dr. Matthews-Bey. And this Dr. Matthews-Bey Unfiltered, coming out of the Corporation of Guyana on the Southwest Temexium, known as the South American continent. I want you to stay safe, be careful, sanitize yourself, and wear a mask. Don't forget the little ones you take into public places. Don't forget to call the number on your screen, 592-611-6575. Your donation would be very much appreciated toward the cause. Once again, this is Dr. Matthews-Bey saying good day and Cheerios for now.